What up, my doggies? Hello, my name is Chris, or Radamantor. So, as you can maybe tell, I have not made a video in quite a while. Haven't been too active on my YouTube channel, gotta say. I, however, have a ton of video ideas and scripts and a bunch of things that I want to do. I just haven't done it. So here is a video that I've been working on for a long time. It's been a very long process. But I'm excited. I'm excited for it, and I hope you enjoy it. Without further ado, let's go!
Video games. Gotta say, bros, video games are pretty cool. Sometimes they look really nice. I look at a game sometimes and I'm like, wow, I like how that looks. It makes my pants fall off from my body magically. It's really weird how that happens sometimes, but yeah, I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining.
But I'm not here to talk about how nice video games look. Rather, I will be delving into how nice they sound, and even more specifically, the music. Though there's a plethora of other ways a game can sound good. Music is used in a lot of different ways. In some cases, it's used to add to a moment, giving it a grander feeling. It can also just be used to set the tone for a place, giving it some nice character, giving it some uniqueness. Oh, this forest sounds a bit mysterious, a bit enchanting. Or in others, it creates a huge amount of panic and tension as the worst sound in the world, straight up anxiety music form. I don't want to stop, please, no. Thank you. If you have the same theme for common battles, you can also use a different song for a special battle to immediately let the player know that this is something important, and therefore also gives the battle a bit more weight, without having to do anything. It's so cool. Or, if you're an asshole game designer, you can also just scar a bunch of little kids by putting Mario into hell and having this terrifying music playing while these creepy-ass hand things are grabbing for you down in this pink water. Nothing's wrong here. I don't see anything wrong here. Regardless, what I wanted to do with this video is take some of my favorite songs in video games and make it into a list, because that is a very original idea that I came up with on my own. It is not at all oversaturated on YouTube or anything, so I hope you enjoy it. Before we begin, here are a few things to keep in mind. I will not be giving out honorable mentions because that would take way too long. And all of this is my opinion. If your favorite song isn't on the list, that's great. That means we have different opinions, and you can put it in the comments if you want. Now then, let's get this show on the road. Yo, if there's one thing that is criminally underrated, it is Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. This game is dope, dude. It should get more of that lovin'. The sweet, sweet lovin'. It needs it. It deserves it. Just like you. You deserve love. You deserve Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze.
I mean, in your typical platformer, you'll have an ice world with ice levels, a desert world with desert levels, a jungle world with jungle. You get the point. In this game, you'll go from one level of fruity jelly goodness, bouncing around like a madman, to an icy cold variation where all the juicy fruits have been frozen, and you're sliding across these popsicles to a goddamn beehive. Like, come on, dude. This game has so much going for it.
The graphics, oh, the level design, oh, the fur, oh, Funky Kong, oh, and most importantly in this case, the soundtrack. Oh yeah. The whole thing, for that matter. There are so many amazing songs in this soundtrack. David Wise is a wise man. He is a wise, wise man. He knows how to do. He knows how to do. It's almost impossibly hard to choose just one song. Homecoming Hijinks, Scorch and Torch, Funky Waters, Seashore War, all of them. They could have all been at number 10. But in the end, my personal favorite of the soundtrack is the groovy jammy jam called Busted Bio. Katamari Damacy is very Japanese. Rolling up the world to create stars is such a unique and fun concept, and the game actually delivers on that uniqueness and fun. Plus, the soundtrack as well is really weird, but also kinda cool. There are a ton of really stupidly catchy songs on the soundtrack, it's ridiculous. And probably the most catchy song is actually the intro, Katamari on the Rocks.
Katamari Damacy.
Anyway, so I didn't choose Katamari on the Rocks for this list. So if we say that this game is two sides, and Katamari on the Rocks represents the more ridiculous and weird side, then there's a particular song that I'd say represents the more carefree and chill side of the game. Your Lonely Rolling Star has such a genuine feeling of sincerity to it. It has an uplifting but also a little melancholic tone. The actual lyrics to the song are also a little bittersweet, and I thought I'd give a little summary of them that I totally researched and made myself, didn't just steal from a YouTube comment. Nobody who would do that. It's kind of lame. This song is about two lovers. The singer is singing about how it's in her lover's nature to roll and wander around, and eventually apart from her. She accepts this and waits for her lover, because she knows that he will always eventually come rolling back to her. How lovely. Dab. Wind Waker was my first Zelda, and holy moly guacamole extra cheese with pepperoni did I enjoy it. Sailing the vast ocean and finding a bunch of cool stuff is something I look back at quite fondly whenever I think of this game. There's a really genuine sense of adventure and discovery, and I love it. So what is more fitting than having the theme that oozes the most adventure be the one that plays when sailing around? Now admittedly, the Zelda series has a ton of amazing music, so this might seem like a bit of a weird choice, but whenever I listen to this song, I just get a giddy childlike feeling, and it just makes me want to climb into my red talking dragon ship thing that also happens to be a king? I think it's better to just not question it. But it just makes me want to go on a big old adventure in the sea, which I think is worth something. Super Metroid is often regarded as one of the best games of all time, which it rightfully deserves because this game is dope. Of course, it isn't perfect for everyone. Certain sections of the game are pretty confusing and hard to figure out for newcomers. But at the same time, that's also what adds to the atmosphere and feeling of discovery in the game. You're not just some kid at an amusement park going on a ride. You're a bounty hunter, traversing this dark alien planet, completely isolated, finding a bunch of dope shit and using those things to access new areas and finding sick secrets. Despite this though, I can still definitely see how the confusion of not knowing what to do would turn people off.
But this game is still absolutely fantastic. I mean, it basically created an entire genre, of which is actually much stronger today than it has ever been. A particular aspect of Super Metroid that is often overlooked, though, is the music. The music for the title screen, for example, perfectly sets the tone and has a really alien-esque feel to it, which makes a lot of sense considering the Metroid series is largely based off of Alien and Ridley is named after Ridley Scott. But it's pretty sweet. It's a pretty sweet intro, alright? If I had to use one word to describe the OST for Super Metroid, it would have to be atmospheric, because goddamn atmosphere in this soundtrack, boys. Goddamn atmosphere. You got the atmosphere up there, they bringing it down here, boys. They bringing it all the way down here. The atmosphere can finally be reached because of Super Metroid! Ooh! Alright. No idea where that came from, but my personal favorite from the soundtrack is the Brinstar theme, because god diggity darn dang, I love this jam. There aren't many single-player games that can get me to come back a second time, or a third, or a fourth, or maybe even a fifth. I can't remember how many times I've played this game. It's just really good. Especially when it's a game as long as Super Paper Mario. It was the first time that Nintendo let you play as a Bowser in a non-sports game, and it was pretty cool to be able to do that. And the game as a whole is just amazing. It has so many ridiculous and weird ideas that they just put in. A dating sim? A dating sim? I'm sorry? We're trying to date Peach now? I mean, alright. Cool. Sure. Although I guess in this case, we are Peach, and we're trying to be dated. So weird, but I love it. And apart from all the weirder things, this game actually had a really good story, and quite a dark tone for a Mario game. But just like how the game itself doesn't get enough recognition, the soundtrack is way too often overlooked. And like I mentioned earlier, this game has actual hell in it. And heaven. Underwear and over there. Wow. Isn't that just fantastic? Speaking of hell, this is actually where you find Luigi later in the game. But why so late? Well, Luigi actually plays a pretty important role in the game's story. Around the start of the game, he gets kidnapped and brainwashed into working for the bad guys. They're not good, they're bad guys. They're bad. They do bad things. They're bad. They're bad, not the good guys. The good guys are good, but they're bad people. And he works for them. he works for them. And he does so in the most stylish fashion. Gotta admit, I look pretty sick. I think we can all agree that the Nintendo Switch is pretty rad. There are a lot of pretty sweet games on that boy, but the game that most effectively seduced my fingertips last year was Octopath Traveler.
This is a classic turn-based JRPG with some saucy graphics, a unique and simple combat system that's also satisfying. It rips shit, dude. This game rips shit. This game is so fun. You know what's good in this game, apart from a lot of it? The music. Oh yeah, that's right. I said it. The video about music. I'm talking about music. That's what is going on today. They also use it in some pretty cool ways. An example of this is how each of the 8 characters have their own unique theme, and the designers figured a way to transition those into the boss theme seamlessly. They just do a little nice passu, and then they're good to go.
I will send you to your father's side.
Time for the main event. I am ready.
My favorite theme from the game, though, also happens to come from my favorite battles. Yo, remember when I said the battles were satisfying? This is what I'm talking about. I spent around 2 or 3 hours fighting just this one enemy. I was constantly trying to switch equipment and skills, approaching the fight from different directions, seeing how I could finally beat it. And finally beating it was, oh my god, yes! And to top it all off, you've been listening to it for a bit already, but the music is so good! Pokemon was a huge part of my childhood. The cards, the figurines, the TV show, the games, the other games, the other games, the other games. There was a lot of games. There is a lot of games. I knew all of the Pokemon by heart.
At the time.
I just loved all of it to death. The first Pokemon game that I personally owned was SoulSilver, and in all honesty, it's probably still my favorite. Not only for nostalgic reasons, but I also feel like they just really did everything great in this game. And there's a particular moment in HeartGold and SoulSilver that's probably the most awesome and impactful thing that's ever happened in Pokemon. Typically in a Pokemon game, you'd only get to explore one region. In this case, that would be the Johto region. But after you beat the Johto region, you can actually head over to Kanto, which is where the first original Pokemon games took place. You can then go through the entirety of Kanto, and eventually you can get to a certain place called Mount Silver, which lays right in between Johto and Kanto. This is probably one of the highest points in any Pokemon game, so the higher and higher you rise, the more your curiosity increases, wondering what is at the top. And then the music stops. The silence only accompanied by the howling wind and the pitter-patter of your feet in the snow. You walk up to the edge and see this red figure. Cue the music. Look, I don't care who you are or what you think of 8-bit music. The build-up for this song is absolutely classic, and for some context, you are now fighting against the protagonist of the original Pokemon games. And if you played those, that would be you. You would, in a sense, be fighting against your previous self. Isn't that just awesome? Isn't that the coolest thing ever? Oh my god, yes. Now, admittedly, I don't think this is the best musical piece in all of Pokemon, but I definitely think it's easily the most impactful song in all of Pokemon, at least in my opinion.
This game's beautiful.
Ori and the Blind Forest is beautiful, and I mean that in every sense of the word. This game looks beautiful, this game sounds beautiful, this game plays beautifully. Ori is like the cutest, most lovable little creature I've ever seen. It's so cute. Adoption papers, please? Anyways, you can clearly tell I like that this game is good. However, something that still manages to stand out
is the outstanding soundtrack. I can honestly rave about the whole thing, but the thing that I love the most is how they take the beautiful opening theme and incorporate it throughout the game. And for this list, I decided to go with the first escape sequence in the Ginzo tree. It's still somewhat early on in the game, but it's given you enough time to get used to the controls and movement and some of the new things that they've introduced as well. Ori is also like the most fun I've ever had controlling a character in a video game. It's just so fluid and satisfying and amazing, and I love it. And it's so cute. It's so cute. It's so cute. Have I talked about how cute it is? Have I talked about how cute Ori is? Have I talked about that? I don't think I've talked about that. Ori is really cute. Did you know? Did you know Ori is really cute? The whole climb of the Ginzo tree is just really great overall, but the escape sequence is a perfect culmination of all the things you've been learning up until this point. It's just such a great rush, desperately trying to get away from these aggressively rising waters. You might die a few times, but the music keeps pushing you forward. Didn't even break a sweat. The Mario & Luigi series is a genius take on the turn-based RPG genre. Instead of just choosing an attack and hoping that luck will be with you, in the Mario & Luigi games, you actively control the battle. You're the one who has to land that perfect hit. You're the one who has to dodge it. And it's kind of cool. Even though I didn't choose this song for the list, I feel like I just have to mention the battle theme from Superstar Saga. It's the grooviest battle theme I've ever heard. The first Mario & Luigi game I played, though, was Bowser's Inside Story, and there is a particular song from this game that just really stuck with me as a kid. To my tiny 10-year-old brain, it was the epitome of epic, the theme for Dark Bowser. I would literally grab my DS, turn it on, go to the save point right in front of the final boss, and go in, set my DS down, and I would just sit there on my bed and listen to it. Something that I value quite highly in a game is the world itself. Now, this isn't necessarily relevant to all types of games, but in open world games like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, it is key. And exploring this vast, amazing world can easily be what pulls me in and gets me to spend over 100 hours on the game. This is why Breath of the Wild is easily one of my favorite games of all time, despite the dungeons being pretty lackluster and repetitive. Nintendo did an amazing job creating this world that was fun and interesting to explore. The first game to really do this for me, though, was Xenoblade Chronicles X. I absolutely love this game so much. There's an amazing sense of progression in X. At the start of the game, there are these giant creatures right next to you that are super high level and could kill you in one hit, but the game still lets you interact with them, and having them be there from the start makes it feel extra good when you're finally able to deal with them later on. Same goes for like a ton of really high up places that you see from the beginning, but you can't get there on foot. Later on in the game, you'll also get these dope mechs that let you go super fast, and it makes you much stronger. You can fight these big boys. And then even later than that, you'll get the flight module, and you can fly around everywhere. Oh my god, it's so beautiful. And in most games, if you go to the top of a cliff and jump off, you'll die when you hit the ground, but not in X. Let's get to the point though, the soundtrack. Now I might hear you guys saying,
Oh, but IGN said this soundtrack was bad.
By a bad soundtrack that tries to be upbeat, but sounds like noise instead.
But here's what's up. Now, admittedly, a few of the songs are a bit divisive. There's some of that weird, out-of-place rap in some of the songs, which is honestly really charming in my opinion, but I can see why people would dislike it.
Is this thing on? Am I all alone? Is anyone there? I need a bigger gun. Help if you can. Please wake me up. Not to sound cliche, but this world sucks. How many times gotta kill your friend? How do you feel about shooting? Just like endless.
There's the obvious NLA theme that most people seem to find annoying, and I did too for a time, but later on it started to grow on me, and when I went back to listen to it recently, I was like, dude, this is this is dope. This is hella dope, dude.
1, 2, 3, 4.
But the soundtrack is also really varied. This isn't the only style of music in it. There is some genuinely really beautiful songs in the soundtrack too. But in my opinion, where the soundtrack shines the most is the same as the game itself, in the exploration. Overworld themes are super nice. The one for the jungle theme, oh my god. Oh my god. The jungle theme. But my favorite video game song of all time is Megalovania from Undertale. You just got pranked. No, but seriously, my favorite song is the Sylvalum Night theme. Sylvalum is definitely the most mysterious and alien-feeling location on Mira, and this song perfectly captures the magic and wonder of Sylvalum itself. Its true beauty. When I was first exploring Sylvalum, I didn't have the volume turned up very high, but when the drop hit, my attention was immediately shifted to the volume button on the remote. This is one of the few songs that legitimately sends chills down my spine when I listen to it, and I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. I don't know. I just really love this song, and I don't know if that's weird. I don't know if anyone else agrees, but mate, it got me good. It got me good, and it's still my favorite to this day. I just love it.